Hi everyone, and welcome to Flosstube number 7. My name is Steve, and this is Steve's Stitchy Spot. Welcome to my July 2025 stitching recap. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join me. I hope you enjoy this episode for this month, this Flosstube. And as always, please feel free to click the like, the subscribe, and the bell notification if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I tend to upload here for my Flosstube as well as my podcast called Dramatic Knits, all here on the Dramatic Knits channel. You may notice that my voice is a little weak today. I think I'm suffering from a bit of a head cold, a 24-48 hour bug. I don't feel completely horrible, but I have some slight congestion and tightness in my throat. I do feel better. I started feeling kind of on Saturday night after coming home from a work trip, and yesterday, Sunday, was our day off, and I did not do anything other than a little bit of crafting and a lot of napping, and I think that helped, but I'm still just kind of coming back out of it, I think. So excuse the weak voice for today. All right, let's jump right into my stitching for the month of July. I did not get as much stitching done as I would have hoped, but alas, that's okay. Every stitch is a stitch forward in progress, and that's all we can ask for, right? So I did a total of 3,115 stitches in the month of July, or since I've last recorded, on 4 different projects. My rotation personally, I rotate through 1 project per week, and I use a random generated wheel of all my projects to pull what the next week's project's going to be. And I have to touch all my projects, including a new start, before the wheel resets and then gives me another new start option. I think right now I'm at about 7 projects, 7 or 8. But, so first up, let's move right into the first thing that I worked on in the last month, and that was Make a Wish by Carolyn Manning Designs. And I'm stitching this using 14 count white Aida using DMC, stitching 2/1. And I got a total of 594 stitches during that week, and I worked on it for 6 of the 7 days. I am now up to 19.2% complete on this project. And I don't feel like I was able to get a ton done. It's been a few weeks since I worked on this, but, and again, I probably would have chosen a different fabric count and maybe not stark white for this design, but sorry, kind of hard to see when I cover up the camera. So I know I was working in this section, filling in some of this stuff here, finishing out some of these motifs, and then finishing off threads in different areas. So that's it so far. I have way too much room at the top, but that's okay. This piece is much bigger than what I need, so give me plenty of room for framing when it is done. So that's been going. Nothing really to write home about on that. The next project that came up on my wheel was Within a Dream by the Artsy Housewife. I am stitching this on 32 count linen in Over the Moon by Color and Cotton. I was able to shop this in person at the Color and Cotton storefront in St. Louis. And I'm stitching this 2/2 because it is a 32 count. And I did stitch 788 stitches, and I worked a full 7 days that week on it, and I am up to 10.2% of the project complete. I am using all the call for specialty threads in DMC, which I think are Weeks Dye Works and Gentle Art sampler threads. And here is where I got to. So as you can see here, I started bringing in some of the moon. I brought down a little bit of this border. I did fully complete the border on the top. So this is the full width of the design. And then it will be very long. This is folded in half. And I brought in a little bit of the tree branches over here, and then worked a little bit into this motif of the border going down that way. Enjoying that. I did get to catch up. The Gigi and her husband Boone uploaded a new Flosstube. They have officially accepted, or had their offer accepted on a house in the Portland, Oregon area. So congratulations to them. I was reaching out to them about bringing their patterns in store here. And once they get moved, I will be placing an order with them for some of their charts. But since their charts are in storage while they were kind of transitioning from Texas to Portland, I decided to tell them, I'll wait till you guys are situated before I place an order. But exciting times for them. The next project that got spun on my wheel was A Year at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. I'm stitching this on 40 count Newcastle linen in doubloon by Picture This Plus. I'm using the DMC for this project, and I'm stitching this 1/2. I got a total of 829 stitches in on this, and I got to work on it for 5 out of the 7 days that week. Last time I had finished the January block and I started bordering out the February block. Well, I finished the February block and then realized that my border did not match up and I was off by 1 stitch. So I had to rip out, I had to frog this whole border because it was 1 stitch off and I knew I wouldn't be able to fudge it. So I did get the fish completed down here. And then I am almost done with 1 shade of the blue. There's another shade of blue in the water, and then it goes up into more of the design at the top for the February block. But January is completed and February is going to town. So yeah, other than that 1 stitch mishap, it wasn't too bad. But making decent progress on that, so can't complain there. I did reach out to Picture This Plus too about possibly bringing in some of their fabrics into our store. For those of you that are new, I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, again, my name is Steve. Myself and my partner, Andy, we own Leading Men Fiber Arts, specializing in our own line of hand-dyed yarns, but also we have a brick and mortar storefront here in Clinton, Illinois, and we have a yarn store, craft store. We are branching into more and more cross-stitch offerings with me getting more into cross-stitch and doing Flosstube. So we actually got the full line of DMC in this week, but it is not ready to be shown. I have barely 1 row in stock and registered, but it is, as the colors are getting registered, they are on our website and they will be shoppable in person. So we're excited about that. All right, the last project that I worked on this last week was The Fruits of Plenty by Modern Folk Embroidery on 32 count Belfast linen in Tycho by Picture This Plus. This is the project that I was working on for 3+ years before I decided to break the monogamy seal and start more projects than just 1 at a time, which started my Flosstube endeavors at the beginning of this year. I am stitching this in DMC 2/2 on that 32 count. I got a total of 904 stitches and over 6 out of the 7 days that week, and I'm at 74.31%, so not quite 75%, but I can show you if I zoom in here where I was working was in this section. I finished a a 10 or 20 stitch column this way, and then I'm working down the final 10 by 10 border here. But as you can see, I did not get that fully completed before I moved on to my next project, which I'm currently working on, but you'll see that the next Flosstube. So 2 shades of DMC. I don't remember if they're the called for. They're very similar to the shades in the original design by Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery. But yeah, it's going. I'm almost 3/4 of the way done. And I couldn't be happier. So the end is in sight. I don't know how much longer it will take, but we'll get there. All right, so that's all the stitching that I got done this last month, but I'm still happy with what I got done. And I did not write down any floss tubes because I think I've gone over a lot of them. I've been trying some new people out, but I haven't watched more than like 1 episode. So, I don't feel like I can really give them an adequate review if I've only watched them once. But I have been trying to watch more and more floss tubes and podcasts. Haven't really been listening to as many books. But I did want to mention before I go into what's some new cross-stitchy items in the store. Last episode, I was doing a giveaway for this UFO, unfinished object. This is a Joy Sunday kit for Tree of Dreams. It is a pre-printed 14 count kit that I started. I got a couple of thousand stitches into it maybe and just decided it was not for me. I did not enjoy the process. So I offered this up as a giveaway on the last Flosstube, and I asked for you to answer the prompt, what is a dream that you have for the future? And only 1 or 2 people entered, I think two or 3 maybe. But I did use a random YouTube comment picker, and the first one was one of the people that entered. So the winner of this is Michelle Gross 3737. So Michelle, congratulations. You are the winner of this. If you would please email me at leadingmenfiberarts@gmail.com with Flosstube winner in the subject line and give me your complete mailing address. I will get this in the mail to you. Hopefully you will enjoy stitching it a bit more than I did. And thank you for everyone who left a comment down on my past Flosstube. I would love if you'd leave a comment this Flosstube. Let me know, what are you stitching on currently? Or what's a Flosstube that you are currently enjoying, or anything else that you want to let me know about that's going on, or just leave me some sort of fun emoji. I would love that. So congratulations to Michelle on winning that. I have no new haul personally, but we have some new things to the shop. So these are all available on our website, leadingmenfiberarts.com. And we will be adding a few more things here and there as things come in. The first thing is I did bring in all of the sizes of Q-snaps. So we have everything from a 6x6 up to an 11x17, which was my former favorite was 11x17. I do like an 11x11 now. Seems to be my jam. So these are all available in store and online now. Don't forget, at Leading Men Fiber Arts, we ship for free over $20 anywhere in the domestic US. And if you order yarn that is anything bigger than a mini skein, we will wind it on the house for you if you request it, which is very easy to do on our website. If you're not a fan of Q-snaps, but you like hoops, I have heard a ton about these. So I brought in one of every color and every size of Nurge Hoops out of the UK. So this is their number 3 size, which I believe is, it's on the listing. This might be close to 8x9, 9x7, not sure. But this is the caramel color. They have 7 different colors. I got one of each color in every size available. I've heard these are nice and lightweight. I didn't bring it over to show you, but I did buy the lap or table stand for the Nurge Hoops. Those stands do not hold the Q-snaps, which I thought they did, but lesson learned, they do hold the Nurge. So those are available online or in store as well. I have not tried these personally, but I might. I've heard good things about them. You unscrew at the top to loosen up your area. And then I would think it just pops out, right? Well, I also do have the fastener on there, so it's not going to come undone anyway. But I like Q-snaps. I've never been a huge fan of hoops, but I have heard really good things about this. The day that I got them out, people were in here raving about the Nurge hoops, though they did buy Q-snaps, but they said they've heard, they've had really good things working with the Nurge. So I got those in, and then I also brought in the my first fabric from Stitch Me, based out of Moline, Illinois. If you've been watching me since the beginning of my Flosstube, I was able to visit Brandy's store this spring, and I talked with her about opening a wholesale account. Well, I finally did place my first order. I got her most popular fabric according to her website, which is One More Reproduction, and I got it in everything from 14 count Aida up to 46 count linen, and I got a 1/4 yard and a 1/2 yard of every count. So you can see the modeling. Of course, these are going to dye differently, better depending on like if it's Aida compared to a linen. Yeah, so this one right here is a 36 count linen. This is a 1/4 yard, but you can check that out online, especially I remember her mentioning this color. She's like, oh, if I have to dye it one more time, because everybody loves it. It's perfect color for another reproduction sampler or anything along those lines. Speaking of which, so check that out under the cross-stitch fabric section on our website. Speaking of which, of samplers and Quakers, I brought in a handful of patterns from Lila Studios. I brought in all of her Quakers as well as a few more. So I thought I would go in order. I brought in Spring Quaker. Mary, who's one of our studio assistants, I thought she would like this one. She really liked the basket in the center. Summer Quaker. I think the crabs are really cute. The fun things that she puts into the motifs. This one is my favorite that I'd really like to stitch. I almost kitted this up before we got this in months ago, and I stopped myself. I said, no, not yet. And I feel like basic Midwest white guy with the colors and the autumn, but I like the big acorn. And it's very much Midwest, which is where we're located, so. This one I've seen all over Flosstube. This is the Halloween Quaker. I know a lot of people are stitching this, including Andrew, the runner stitcher. He's also doing Autumn is as Joyful, which is when I saw him doing it, is when I went to go kit this up. Another popular one amongst the staff is Nevermore, and I'm doing Within a Dream right now, where I would do another Raven piece. Peace on Earth, which is a winter Quaker. And Holiday Quaker. So all of these are the printed, a printed copy. These are all available online or in store. Some of them I've sold. I only brought in about 3 of each to see how they would do. Some of them have already sold 1 or 2 copies. So excited to see some movement with cross stitch in the store. It's showing us that there's a need for it. We've talked with a couple of people who've been in shopping in the last week or two and been shopping some of our cross-stitch offerings, and they're like, there is a need. Two of the ladies that were in last week said they have to, there's really not a cross-stitch store unless you drive up to Moline or down to St. Louis, which is about 2.5 hours each way for either one of those stores. So they were excited to hear me talking about branching out and bringing some more products into the shop. So thank you so much. I know this is a short video. I don't have a ton to say. I don't really have any plans. That's not the way that I work. I just randomly spin my wheel and work on my next project for a week at a time. Currently, what I'm working on is, what am I working on? I just stitched on it this morning. It's on my next page. I'm working on the 2020 pandemic sampler. So working on that. I'll show that to you at the beginning of September when I check back in with you and show you all of my stitching and what's new in the store at the beginning of September. I hope you have a wonderful August as we are rolling into the final weeks of summer. It has finally cooled down. I think it's supposed to be decently warm this week, but it was very hot last week, very hot and humid with rain thrown in there. Our yards were a hot mess. They still are, but they've all been mowed. Now we just have a bunch of dead grass all over the yards, but at least they've been mowed, so that's good news on our end. But yeah, thank you so much for checking out this month's Flosstube. If you're interested in what else has been going on in the shop, my life, as well as my knitting and other crafting adventures, please feel free to check out the Dramatic Knits podcast, which will be popping up on YouTube very shortly after this Flosstube goes live. And I hope you have a wonderful August, and I'll see you next month. Bye.